Here we go. You're all set, Sandy.
All right, great, thanks. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the country, in the world. I'm Sandy Schussel, and today we're going to be talking about improving your business by improving your focus. I've been working with advisors and producers for 20 years, and one of the things that I noticed is over time, there are fewer and fewer people saying, "Hey, Sandy, help me with getting more clients, help me with getting more sales," and more of them are saying, "Help me focus, help me have the time to do the things that I need to do." And so that's the reason that we created this program. I have Madeline with me here. You have a chat box that you can respond and ask questions. And what I'm going to ask you to do now, and Madeline, you tell me if you're getting them, is if you can hear me and see me okay and there are no problems, type yes in the box. And we'll know that people are saying, yeah, we're good.
Hello, Veronica, Robert. Hello, Bo. I'm getting a lot of responses here. Yes, everyone can hear you.
All right, good. Then let's get started. And I want you to imagine what your life would look like if you were able to be totally focused on what you need to get done to reach the income and the life goals that you've set for yourself. What would your life be like if you could expect a steady inflow of business all year round, and even the slow months weren't so slow that you had to worry about money, and you had systems that minimized the distractions that you had and kept the paperwork flowing and kept your business going like a machine? And imagine what your life would look like if you could finally have the practice that you really want, the breakthrough to the kind of practice that you really want. All of that requires one thing, and that is intensely focused action. But here's our reality, and I want to know if this sounds like you. You're responsible for marketing and prospecting, selling, enrolling, delivering products and services. You have your own financial issues to deal with. You have client relationships that you have to nurture. If you have people working for you, you have staff relationships that you have to nurture. And you've got administrative and underwriting things to follow up on. And if you're FINRA licensed, you have compliance things to follow up on. And you add to that, what happens if you're sick for a few days, or you want to take a 2-week vacation, or you want time to read the Bible or meditate, or you want time to exercise and stay healthy, you want time with your family. And then we put on top of that, you have phone calls and emergencies and emails and problems and IT problems, and this endless cycle of things that have to be done. First of all, tell me, does any of that sound like you? Just type yes in the box, Madeline. Let me know if people are responding.
Yes, this sounds like us. I'm seeing yeses. Yes.
Okay, and the problem with all of that is that your result is you can't focus on the work that you need to do, the work that makes money, and the idea of intensely focused action. I mean, it's just not there. And so what happens when you're not in focus is you're working longer hours, but you're not getting better results. You're making more mistakes. Things are slipping through the cracks. People are slipping through the cracks. You're losing clients. Your income isn't as good as it ought to be. You're missing opportunities to make more income. You have nights where you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat because something isn't done, and you're frustrated and stuck and burnt out and overwhelmed. And let's face it, there's no way in that situation you're going to be able to take intensely focused action. And so we compensate for it. We try to keep everything in our head, and we're afraid something is missing. We've forgotten something. We try to do more each day than is humanly possible. We're doing whatever catches our attention next instead of having a clear plan and priorities. We're struggling to stay focused in an environment of interruptions and distractions. And the worst part of all of that is that tomorrow's going to be the same and the next day is going to be the same because there's no system to improve that situation. I'm guessing that resonates with a lot of you. But here's the great news. There are hundreds of mostly simple things that you can do to improve your focus. And today we're going to tackle 11 of those. So they're not the only ones, but they're the ones that I thought might be helpful right away, right now, to help you get where you want to go. So why do I know about this? I can tell you that I've been a practice development coach working with producers and advisors for nearly 20 years, that I was national sales training director and a practice development director for life insurance companies and broker dealers, that I'm insurance WebEx preferred mentor and an MDRT approved coach, and contributed to online insurance publications and the author of 2 books. And I've got life and health and FINRA licenses. But what I really want you to know is that I understand where you're coming from. I'm a grandfather. I've built a practice. I've struggled through building a practice. I've gone through a bankruptcy. I've beaten cancer 3 times. And where my information comes from, aside from a tremendous amount of reading and studying and coaching, is from personal experience. So I know where you are and I know what's happening. And the reason I got into practice development and coaching is I wanted the people that I worked with to have breakthroughs to what they really want. So a lot of my clients are already successful as other producers or advisors see them, but they still haven't gotten to that place that they really want to take their practice to. They still haven't had that breakthrough. And maybe it involves better prospecting and marketing, or better sales conversations, or better time management. Maybe they just want better clients. Maybe they want better systems. There are 9 areas of your practice that should be systemized. And I would venture to say that most of us don't have them all systemized. Maybe I've got a team, but I want them to function better. Maybe I want a better team. Maybe I just want to have more fun. Maybe I just want a better idea of how to get where I want to go. And these are the kinds of challenges that people bring to me. Now, you can do everything that I just said on your own. And I like to say that nobody really needs a coach. What they want is results. And if they're not getting those results on their own, or they're not coming fast enough, or they're struggling to make them happen, or they're not confident it's working, that's when people work with me. And that's what I'm doing here today, is to try and help you get a hold of your time management and a hold of your focus. So in today's program, I'm going to cover the 11 strategies I promised. We're going to go through them one by one to help you get hyper-focused. I'm going to offer you an opportunity to talk with me about your business, and I'm going to answer any questions that you have. And the one thing I want you to get is I'm not going to try to sell you anything. There's no sales in this. I would like to get you to meet with me and talk about your business, but even then, there's no sales. That's not the way I work. And I'll talk to you a little bit later about that. Right now, though, I want to get you on your way to the 11 ways to improve your business. And I've listed them here, but you don't have to scribble them down because we're going to go through each one individually. The first is to have a crystal clear goal and be 100% committed to the goal. The second is to recognize that distractions are inevitable, and that you need to bring yourself back from them. The third that we're going to spend a good deal of time on is how to prioritize in a way that's actually going to work for you. The fourth is learning to say no to things. The fifth is scheduling everything and blocking your time. The sixth is about managing inflows, all the things that come at us. The seventh is having a system for dealing with interruptions. The eighth is to delegate everything that you can. The ninth is something I call under promise and over delivering, and we'll talk about that. 10 is having systems for everything, and 11 is invest in the help you need. And with that, I just want to make it clear that anytime you have a question, Madeline is going to be monitoring those. And if there's something that we should stop and talk about right there, we're going to do that. But otherwise, let's get started. So number one is have a crystal clear goal and be 100 committed to it. So there are two parts to this. The first is you want to have something that you're aiming at. We all get into our businesses with the idea that we want to be successful at it, but we're not really clear what that means. And understanding what it means to be successful is important. So I gave you this little acronym: follow one course until successful. You got to pick your one course. Once you've got it, and it could be, hey, I want to make 100,000 this year, or I want to make 500,000 this year, or I want to do 50 apps, or I want to do 200 apps this year, or I want to help 100 people, or I want to help 200 people. Whatever it is for you, if you're clear on it, the next part is getting committed to it. Now, I always believed I was 100% committed to building my practice. Always believed that. And I had a coach that challenged me. He said, you know, you have a disease, and I call it intention deficit disorder, because you think you're 100% committed and you're not really 100% committed. And I said, that's impossible. Of course I'm 100% committed. And so we made up a little game that I'm going to play with you now to see if you're really 100% committed. I want you to think about that one goal that we talked about. This year, by December 31st, I want this to happen. Now, if you don't have that, you should be talking to me, because it's important not so much to have the goal so that you can aim at the goal, but to have the goal so you know where you're going. I like to quote Yogi Berra, who says, you have to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. You have to have a goal. But once you have the goal in mind, I'm going to give you this challenge. I want you to imagine that I'm offering you $100,000 if you could reach that December 31st goal by October 1st. First of all, put in the chat box, would you take me up on the challenge? I'll give you $100,000 extra on top of whatever you earn if you can reach your December 31st goal by October 1st. Getting a lot of yeses there, Madeline?
Hugo, yes. Alan, you bet. And Hugo would take the challenge for sure. Bo, Michael, we're getting a lot of yeses here.
Okay, so we're gonna do this next part anonymously, because here's the question for you. What will you do differently to reach that goal and get the 100,000 by October 1st that you weren't going to do, or you were going to do another way to reach it by December 31st? And if you can, will you type your answer in? If you're willing, we'll keep it anonymous. Will you type your answer in? What will you do differently to reach that goal, to get the extra 100,000? While you're doing that, I'll tell you what most people say. Well, I'd make so many more phone calls and I'd get better organized and I'd have more events and I would do more networking and they give me a whole list of things. Anything come in, Madeline?
Yes, I have one participant who says referrals and activity would become the main focus. Another who says they would manage their time better, do more and more and more. I'm getting from others. And yeses and
Yeah. Yeah, so that's 100% commitment. And if you were doing anything less than that to get to the December 31st goal, you were not 100% committed. So when I suggest that the first thing is to get a goal, to be on a mission, to put all of your effort toward that goal, and that will help you stay focused and be clear. That's what I'm talking about, that 100% commitment to the goal. It looks like there might be a question there, Madeline. Am I getting that right?
I don't see a question. I think we're ready to go, but
I
I'm
see
getting a lot of different
see a
ideas.
hand up. Okay, so um, Steve Chandler, the author of The Time Warrior, who's been my coach in the past, wrote, if you're 100% committed, you have no time management problem. Everything you do is focused on what you've committed to accomplish. Well, I borrowed from that, and this is what I want to say about it. If you're 100% committed, you have no focus problem because everything you do is focused on what you've committed to accomplish. So the first thing is, number one, if you pick a goal and you're 100% committed to reach that goal, it's going to help you focus. Let's go to the second one. Distractions are inevitable. We're human. And the one thing that I know about distractions is there's a moment when you've drifted off to work on some problem on your computer or something caught your eye on your desk that you know you're not doing the thing you should be doing at that moment. And in that moment, you can either keep doing it, which is what most of us do, keep doing the distracting thing, or get yourself back. So I created a sign for myself that I put up at my desk that has a stop sign on it. And it says, is what I'm doing right now the best thing I can be doing to reach my goal? If not, what is? If you want that exact poster that I have, you can write to sandywillhelp@gmail.com and I will be happy to give you a copy of that poster, sandywillhelp@gmail.com. The key is there is a moment when we're distracted that we know we're being distracted. It's what you do with that moment that will help you stay focused. So I want to spend as much time as I can on number three, which is prioritizing. And it's just once you've got this or a system like it, or even a piece of this system that I'm going to give you in 6 parts, you're going to see that your focus is going to improve and your management of your time is going to improve. Sit down and make a list of everything that you have to do, everything. Now, I distinguish between projects, like I'm going to do a seminar on June 3rd, and tasks, which are the pieces of it. You're going to select a venue and a date and a topic. You're going to sign a contract with the venue. You're going to prepare and file invitations if you have to file them. You're going to work on slides. You're going to talk to vendors and so on and so forth. That's the list of things. And I want you to capture as many of those tasks as you can. And if you take an hour, 2 hours to do this, I promise you, you're going to find that there are 2 things at the end. Number one is you're going to see that it's a finite list. It has an end. You might add 1 or 2 things as you think of them to go on that list. But you're going to find that it's not infinite, that you don't have to be overwhelmed because there's an end to the list. The second thing is you're going to find you sleep better because nothing now falls through the cracks. And you may even be able to take the files and the papers that were on your desk and take them off your desk and put them away, because now everything is written down. You're not carrying it in your head anymore. Then you're going to organize these, and this would just be part of the same practice. Stephen Covey talks about 4 quadrants, and you can actually go through your list and assign a 1, 2, 3, or 4 to the things that are on the list. So the things that get a 1 are the things that are important and urgent. These are the things that either are going to make you money or prevent you from losing money, and they have to be done now. So if you've got an app waiting to be filled out and sent in, that's important and urgent, those kinds of things. So go through your list and identify the ones. Then look at the 2s, and that is, these are important, but I don't have to do them today. And that could include planning and organizing. It could include something that isn't due for 3 weeks or for 2 weeks or until next week. Take those and put a 2 next to them, because I can do something with them and I don't have to do them right now. They're important, but they're not urgent. The third category, and you probably won't have a lot of these things, the third category are things that might appear urgent, but if you don't do them, nothing bad's going to happen. Hey, my library card has to be renewed by tomorrow, or I'm going to pay a $5 fine. It's urgent, but it's not important. And you may have a few of these, catch them. Sometimes it's things that you're interrupted by, some of the phone calls, some of the mail you get, some meetings that, they're urgent, but it's not important. If I don't do it, nothing bad's going to happen. And finally, put a 4 next to everything that's not urgent and not important. And for me, it would be like, on my list somewhere would be learn Spanish. Well, it's not urgent and it's not important. Get guitar lessons. Well, not urgent, not important. Some of the things that we have to do in our business just fall into that category. They're not urgent, they're not important. I'd love to do them, but if I don't get to them, that's okay. Now we want to look at the list and pull out all of the things that fit in category number 4, not urgent, not important. Get them down somewhere else, put them in a cabinet drawer, put them in the left drawer of your desk, and forget about them, because you've got to get to the important things first. I'm going to skip category 3 for a second and go next to category 2. Because what you do with the things that are important or not urgent is you get them into your calendar. And so there are 2 ways. If I'm thinking about, I want to do some planning for my business, some planning for my marketing, I want to read about some new policies, some new annuities that I don't really understand. You can schedule weekly time for that, so that on Fridays at 2 o'clock, for a half hour, I'm going to do this. But the things that are there that are for a particular time, I don't have to do this now. I can do it next week. Put it in the calendar for next Thursday. And then it might have risen to level 1 where it's important and urgent. And if you do this with the things that have to be done, or at least consider that these are the things that have to be done, you're definitely going to be improving your focus and improving your time management. With the urgent, not important things, get them off to the side too. Put them in the right-hand drawer of your desk and don't worry about them for now, so that all of your attention can be on the important and urgent ones. Now, one of the complaints that comes up is, oh, I got about 20 of those. And so I want to talk to you about how to prioritize those. And the best way I can do this is to talk about the Ivy Lee method and tell you the story of how this came about. Charles Schwab was an industrialist, a steel company owner in the early 1900s. I don't know if he's related to the financial Charles Schwab or not. I meant to look that up and I didn't. But he was having a huge problem getting anything done. And he did something that in the early 1900s was unheard of. He asked his staff to find him a time management consultant. And they found a guy named Ivy Lee. I didn't name him. They found a guy named Ivy Lee, who later on became a famous PR guy, but at the time was holding himself out as a business consultant, in this case, a time management consultant. And Ivy Lee followed Charles Schwab around for an entire day. At the end of the day, he set him down and he said, Mr. Schwab, I can help you, but you're going to have to do exactly what I say for the next month. And Schwab said, I'm not getting anything done. You can see that. So I'll follow whatever you say. He said, here's what I want you to do. At the end of every night or the beginning of every day, I want you to write down the 6 most important things that you have to accomplish between meetings and everything else for that day. And Schwab said, well, I could pick 6 out. He said, then I want you to prioritize them 1 through 6. So what's the most important? What's the second most important? And so on. And he said, I can do that. And he said, well, here's the hard part. I want you to start working on number 1 and not stop working on number 1, not look at 2, not look at 3, not look at any of the others until you've taken number 1 as far as you can go. Either you completed it or you did all the work that you could do on it and now you're waiting for somebody else. Then you can start number 2, but you can't go to 3, 4, 5, or 6 until you've completed number 2. And Schwab shook his head and didn't think that this would be a good idea. But what Ivy Lee said to him, at the end of the month, if you do this for 30 days, I will come back and you can pay me anything you think this consultation was worth. At the end of 30 days, when Ivy Lee came to Schwab, he handed him a check for $25,000, which in our time is about $200,000. And he said, Mr. Lee, I got more done this month than I've gotten done in any month in the last 2 years. And I'm going to be using your system from now on. Now, if we update this, there are people who say pick 4, pick 5, pick 3, but the concept goes back to this method. Pick the 6 most important things, prioritize them 1 through 6, and instead of trying to do a little bit on each one, just work on number 1 until number 1 is gone as far as you can take it, and then start working on number 2. And what happens is the next day you're going to make the list again, and maybe number 3 that you didn't get to is now number 1, but maybe it's number 5. Each day you're going to determine what's the most important thing to do. And this is in between all the other things that have to go on during the day. You have appointments, you have phone calls, and so on. But if you follow a method like this, you're going to have better focus, better time management. So let's just go over them. First thing is list everything that has to be done so that you've got your complete list. Then divide the list into these 4 categories. Then isolate and ignore the urgent, not important things. Then calendar everything you can that's important but not urgent. Then separate out the urgent and not important things, and you can look at them once in a while just to see if there's anything you want to get done. It's like take a break and do one of those. And finally, prioritize the urgent and important things and use that Ivy Lee 6 most important method to work on them. So that's prioritizing. Number 4 is really important to a lot of us. It's say no to everything that doesn't get you directly to your goal. Warren Buffett said the difference between a successful person and a really successful person is that the really successful person says no to almost everything. I work with advisors who tell me that they're part of a networking group. And I'll say to them, do you get any business out of that networking group? And they said, well, you know, the first year I did, I got a couple of good cases, but since then, not really. And I'll say, well, why are you still in that group? And the answer is really because I haven't said no to them. Now, if you're in a group like that and you're there because it's fun and you like the people and it's part of your social life, then by all means continue. But don't delude yourself into thinking that what I'm doing here is business, because if it's not producing business, it's not. So that's just one example of saying no. Another one that's a big one, and this happens with me and clients all the time, is they're doing work that they could be saying no to and handing off to somebody else. But they're doing it. They're not saying no to the things that aren't directly getting them to their goal. So number 5 is schedule everything. Now, a lot of these seem intuitive and simple, but it's really important. And so if you want this weekly schedule that I put out here as an example, again, you can write me at sandywillhelp@gmail.com and I'll be happy to send you it. But the first thing that you should put on this blank schedule is the times that you don't want to work. So this hypothetical advisor wants to quit on Friday at 3. He wants to work a part day on Saturday. He doesn't want to work on Sunday. He doesn't even want to start work till 10 in the morning every day. And on Mondays, he doesn't even want to come in till noon. And that's the time off. Michael Gerber in the E-Myth Revisited talks about this as the primary aim and says that we go into our businesses backwards, and that instead of figuring out the life we want and then finding work that supports that life, we work until we can figure out how to build our lives around it. Now, I can tell you this: if most of your schedule is blue and there's very little white space, you're probably in the wrong business. But get your family and personal time first. If you go to the gym, if you want time to study something, to do something outside, get that time on the schedule first. Then put in whatever meetings that you have that are mandatory. Now, sometimes it's a team meeting or an office meeting. Sometimes I'm taking my kid to the therapist, or I'm going to marriage counseling or whatever. If they're mandatory meetings, get them on the schedule next. Then what you want to do is schedule the appointments you want. This hypothetical advisor keeps 10 appointments. And what most of us do, even if we're keeping 3 or 4, is we let the clients dictate when the appointments are. So I want you to imagine that you want to set a 2:00 Tuesday morning appointment with your doctor, and or Tuesday afternoon appointment with your doctor, and your doctor says, well, I'm sorry that the only time the doctor can see you is at 4:00. And you say, oh no, that's not good. I have to see him at 2:00. And the doctor says, oh, okay, come at 2, come whenever you want. It doesn't happen. And we need to be respected like that in our profession by setting specific times that we have appointments with people, and then sticking to those appointment times. So somebody calls you and you say, well, look, right now I have 2:00 on Tuesday available. And they say, well, that won't work. And you offer them the next available slot. You control your schedule. Clients will respect you if you control your schedule. When you're available all the time, you just sound needy, and you don't want to go there. You don't want to be needy. Now, what you do with those times when you've set a time for an appointment, and let's say it's 2:00 on Tuesday and nobody, and you haven't been able to fill that time slot, you use that time like the white space time for administrative work and appointment prep and marketing and planning and whatever else you have to do, phone calls, whatever else you have to do. So that becomes additional time to do other work. What a lot of us do is, well, I had a 7:00 appointment and it canceled, so I'll go home. And if you've already created sacred personal time that you don't violate, be the same with your business. This is business time. I'm going to do business during that time. And you're going to see that that helps your focus as well. Now, what do you do with the white space? I call this power blocking. Have a time when you do paperwork, have a time when you check emails, shut the email alerts off. Have a time when you return phone calls. Don't just take a phone call because the phone rang. Have a time when you're doing meeting prep. Have a time when you're doing prospecting calls. And when you're doing that, don't do anything else but that during that time period. So somebody calls you and they leave a message, and you know that at 4 o'clock, I'm going to return that call. And you can actually train your team and your clients to be responsive to that. And when I was doing it, clients knew they're not going to get me till 4 o'clock, so they didn't even call till 4 o'clock. And you need to set up your schedule like this. Now, some people complain to me and say, Sandy, this is way too scheduled for me. Uh, my belief is this actually gives you freedom. You know when you're not going to be working at all or thinking about work or doing anything about work, and you know when you're going to be doing certain activities during work. And that's what I mean by scheduling everything. Going with scheduling everything is, how do you manage inflows? We're bombarded by paper, we're bombarded by emails and phone calls, and you can drown in that stuff. And there's really a simple system that you can use for both paper and email. Create 5 folders. The first folder is read. So something comes in and you, instead of reading it right now, it's something you want to read, put it in the read folder. Next comes in something that you need to act on. And so this isn't my act time, this is my review email time, my review mail time. So I'm going to put it in the act folder. And then what I actually do on my own is I just keep that in the inbox because that's what I'm going to work on. The third thing that comes in are things that you want to file. They may relate to a case. They may relate to information that you want to learn at some point. You want to recall at some point. Put that into file. The fourth file, which I think is probably the most important, is the delegate file. Get things in that you're going to delegate. Now, again, if you're doing it on your inbox, immediately forward it to somebody to take care of. And finally, there's the shred or trash folder. And you want to trash as much as you can. Anything you don't need, anything that's commercial, anything that doesn't involve you, get rid of it. And if you do this, then you're back to being able to work your time blocks and stay really focused. So number 7 is, have a system for dealing with interruptions. You're going to get interruptions. There's no doubt about it. But if you have even one staff person, you need to have instructions. You need to have a system. And the system is, close your door. I get producers to say, well, everybody comes to me. I can't close my door. And the answer is, yes, you can. Have times when it's open, power blocked into your calendar, and people will know it. I worked with an office years ago where the manager's name was Anthony, and everybody knew that 3 o'clock was Anthony time. So nobody bothered him with anything except emergencies until 3 o'clock, and then they lined up to see him. You can create that by closing your door and instructing your team that this is the way it is. When my doors close, only interrupt me with emergencies. Get rid of the email notifications. There was a time when I tried to cheat this where I got rid of the sound, but the little blurb comes in that you got an email. Get rid of them, because when it's email time, turn everything on, but otherwise you don't want to see those. Have rules about interruption. My favorite rule is, you only interrupt me for emergencies, which is somebody's bleeding, there's a regulator outside who wants some files, or a client's about to pull their file from you. That's an emergency. That's when you interrupt me. And when you're clear on that, you can stay more focused because you're working your time blocks and you're not being interrupted. Now, sometimes you will be. I mean, nobody's there. Nobody's at the front desk. You got the call. You took it by accident. It was a time when you were supposed to let it go to message, but you didn't. You get three choices when that happens. The first one is to accept the interruption and do whatever it is you have to do for that interruption. That's the least effective choice. The second one is to delegate it. John handles that. Let me put you through to John, and then I'll get back to you later. And the third is to say, hey, Jim, I really do want to cover this with you. 4 o'clock is my time to take care of things like this. I'll get back to you at 4 o'clock, and then go back to the thing you're doing. A simple system like that will solve a lot of distraction issues. So you notice I talked about delegating, and I always love when an advisor says, I really can't delegate. And I say, well, why can't you? And you say, well, Mary's got so many things on her desk. I feel guilty asking her to do more. And the reality is that you can have a conversation with them that says, look, if I give you too much, you have to tell me, because I'm going to try to give you as many things as I can. They want to take ownership just like you wanted to take ownership, and they want the responsibility. And you're feeling guilty about asking them to do more doesn't really make sense, and it's not good for your business. The next thing I hear is, well, I'm the only one who can do this. Nobody can do this as well as I can. And the truth is that if you train them to do it, they might be better at it than you. And so that's just an excuse for not letting go. Third thing is, well, it's easier for me to do it than train someone else. It takes a couple of minutes. I can do it. I'd have to spend hours training them. And you're not understanding, if you're saying that to me, that spending training time on the front end will save you more time on the back end for as long as that person stays with you. It's wrong to say, I can do it myself, even though you can. I mean, you can do anything here. It's a question of, do you want to be doing $15 an hour work, or do you want to be doing $200, $500, $1,000 an hour work? It's up to you. But don't make that your excuse. And then finally, you know what? It only takes a minute. It's not worth giving it to someone else. By the time I explain it, the truth is that if you calculate 15 minutes a day of it only takes a minute work, and you add that all up, it comes up in a 40-hour week to be about a whole week and a half that you were doing work that you could have given to somebody else. You want to talk about why I'm distracted, why I'm not getting things done? This is one of the reasons. And the biggest reason that I get is, oh my gosh, I delegated once and it was a disaster. Well, anybody who says that to me didn't really delegate. They dumped, they took, they abdicated, they gave it to someone and they forgot about it. If you're going to delegate properly, you have to be clear on what you're asking for. You have to be clear on the details, on how it fits in with their other things that they're doing, the priority, on how you want it reported to you as it goes along, and how you want it completed and when you want it completed. You have to ask them if they need anything from you to make it happen, and make it an agreement between you that you will have it by Friday if that's when you want it. And you have to give them some latitude on how the job is to be completed, because you may think it's best to do it one way, and they may be very lazy and come up with a real lazy, easy way to do it. Let them figure it out, and it makes them feel good. And you have to trust that they're going to do a good job, but dumping means you didn't verify. So trust, but verify, make sure it's being done. And you can just put in your calendar that this is due on a certain date, or so-and-so was supposed to report to me about it today, and you can do the follow-up. That's real delegation. And if you do real delegation, you don't have disasters. So let me talk about one of my favorites, which is under-promising and over-delivering. A client says, I really need this paperwork by Friday. You look at your schedule and you are slammed. You have so many things to do. It's almost impossible to do it by Friday, but hey, I don't want to disappoint the client. So you say, I'll do my best to have it by Friday. And you work your tail off, and at 9 o'clock at night, you're exhausted and you can't get to it. And you have to tell them that you're going to deliver it on Monday. And they say, oh, but I wanted it for this weekend. I mean, how many of you have had and experienced anything like that? Give Madeline a yes, so I know that you're paying attention and you've had this experience. Anybody? Madeline, how are we
Yes,
doing here?
yes, yes.
Yeah, we've all heard that. So imagine this scenario. The client says, oh, I got to have this by Friday. And you look at your calendar and you're slammed, and it's going to be virtually impossible to give it to her by Friday. And you say, um, Joan, I'm really sorry, but there's no way I can have this for you until next Wednesday. And she says, oh, next Wednesday, I really wanted it for this weekend, but okay, I mean, if that's the best you can do, well, okay. Now you deliver it on Monday without the stress, without the distraction, without the time management problems, and you're a hero. Now, in both cases, you delivered it on Monday, but because you underpromised and over-delivered, that same client is delighted by the result. So instead of worrying about disappointing them upfront, make sure that you please them by delivering it early after you give them a delivery date. Now, this isn't just for deliveries because it can have to do with what something might cost. For instance, if you do financial planning, then you give them a price and the price comes in less. Wow, that was good. Thank you. That was great. Even though it may have been all along that you figured you might be able to do it in that time constraint, and so on. There's dozens of ways that I can think of that you can underpromise and overdeliver, and that's going to improve your focus and reduce your distractions. Number 10 is to have systems for everything. In the beginning, I told you there are 9 things that you want to have systems for. And actually, 8 of them apply to most producers. The ninth is for people who have FINRA responsibilities and are handling trades. But you should have a system for prospecting and referrals, for onboarding new clients, for handling paperwork, for client service, reviews and updates, client appreciation, all office procedures, anything having to do with human resources, even if you only have one staff member. Those all should be things that you have a system for. One of the things that I advise clients to do is if you've got an assistant and she's responsible for certain systems, let her write the office manual on things as they occur. And you're going to find that that is time well spent, because if she's sick, if she leaves, and I don't mean to be sexist about it, it can be he too, but if they leave, then you've got the procedures all written down. Have systems for everything. As I said before, most of us don't. We have 2 or 3 things that we have systems for. Get serious about systems, because then you only have to focus on the things that are most important, which is client contact, client development, the business end of what we do. So we're up to number 11. And number 11 is about investing. Whoops, let's go back. Number 11 is about investing in the help that you need. I hear all the time from people from advisors and producers who say, oh, I really can't afford to hire anybody right now. And I want to say to them, you can't afford not to. What we do is something like you open a convenience store and you decide that I can't afford help right now. I just opened, I spent my last dollar on inventory. I can't do it. So you're at the back getting deliveries from the truck, and then you're getting the deliveries on the shelf, and then you're at the front ringing up the sales, and you're over at the lottery machine ringing those up, and you're on the floor pricing things, and you're on the floor helping customers. Well, and you're doing that 12 hours a day, you're going to be out of business in 2 weeks. You're just going to burn out. Well, we're not all that different. If you're doing work that somebody could do for 15 or 20 or $25 an hour, and they can do that for you so that you can focus on the work that makes you real money, and you're not hiring them, then you're missing the point. Find yourself a way to hire somebody part-time and promise yourself that the time you save after training, you're going to invest in making sure you get one more case that's going to pay for all the time that the assistant uses. And then use the assistant, use team members if you have team members, associates of some kind. If you're captive and you have a home office, use the people at the home office. If you work with wholesalers, they can help you. Get the help you need from them. Get a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but get yourself a coach so that things happen for you, breakthroughs happen for you with less struggling and less time spent and less worry. If there's somebody that you trust who you know is good at what you've been doing, find a mentor and use that person as a mentor. Use the help you need. Most of us think we have to do this alone, and doing it alone is the least effective way. So I promised you 11 strategies, and that's it. I also promised you an offer of an opportunity to work with me on your personal business. I want to talk to you about that next, and then we'll go into any questions or anything that you might have by way of comment. You have really three options at this point. First option is don't do anything we just talked about. You don't have to take any risks. You don't have to have any faith that it's going to work or it's not going to work. I can promise you, you'll probably continue to experience the same results you've been getting with little or no change. And if that's okay, that's one way to deal with it. The second option is take a few of the things we talked about today, bring them into your business, into your practice one at a time. Don't try to change everything at once. That never works, but bring them in one at a time. Apply what you've learned here and do it yourself, and you're going to see that it works. The third option, the one I want to talk to you about, is invest an hour of your time in seeing what's possible in your business by scheduling a personal breakthrough session with me. If you're willing to change and actually look at creating exactly what you want from your business, I definitely am happy to talk to you. You can schedule, I set aside time during the next 2 weeks for a breakthrough session. The cost is free, and you can take advantage of it by going to just write down sandyschussel.com/what-if, put a dash between the what and the if, and it'll take you to a page where you can get to my calendar. Why am I doing this? I have very limited availability. So clearly my goal is not to sell you a coaching program. I mean, that's just not where I want to be with this. So you're not going to get sales. You're just going to get help. And by the way, not trying to sell you something is a great way for you to get clients to work with you. Now, if you find our conversation helpful and you want me to continue to help you, and we both think it's a good fit, I may invite you to join one of my programs, but you're going to have to actually ask me. And don't worry that, oh, I have no intention of hiring a coach. I don't want to waste any of Sandy's time because, he's going to be expecting. I'm not expecting anything except to help you in that moment, get a breakthrough in some, with respect to your biggest goal or your biggest challenge. And these things are never a waste of time because, first of all, you get to experience what it is to work with a coach, and maybe you'll come back some other time. You may recommend me to someone else. And most importantly, I learn what the problems are so that the next time around I can better help someone. So no sales, just help. All you have to do is go to sandyschussel.com/what-if and schedule a time with me that works for you. But don't do it if you're not 100% committed to your own success and to hitting whatever goals you have for yourself. If all it is I want to, and I have this picture of this woman who's climbing the side of a mountain. She's 100% committed. If you're that committed to your business, that's I want to talk to you. And if it's just something you want to do, but hey, if I don't talk to the guy and I don't make changes in my business, it'll happen naturally, and that's fine. Then don't bother, because what I want it to be is a choose to. I'm looking to help myself. I'm willing to explore this. If you choose to, go to sandyschussel.com, what if, and let's talk. So one of these guys may actually be on this call, but this is my tale of two Kevins. The first guy gave me a beautiful testimonial, and all we did was talk for an hour. He didn't bring up the subject of, I want to work with you, and so we didn't have that conversation. The second Kevin did decide to ask me, how does this work? He also gave me a great recommendation. He worked with me for about a year and a half. This is up to you, and I really mean it. It doesn't matter to me which one you do. My goal is to help you in that one conversation. Now, if we do decide to work together, there are 5 areas that I generally work with a producer in. My favorites are what's holding us back is usually us, our mindset, and we can really work on those. But with a history of sales training and marketing, I can also help you with some of the others. And the last one is always funny. Like, people say, well, what do you mean get rid of energy suckers? We all have people, places, things that either get us jazzed and ready. We want to go to work and get things done, or that suck the life out of us. We take a look at those among the other things that are going on in your life. So use this link, the sandyschussel.com what-if, to change your future. And if you're 100% committed to doing what it takes to grow your business, grab a time slot. I really want to help you if you want the help, and if you're willing to open up and talk to me about it. And sometimes it's hard for me. The hardest thing in the world for me was to open up and talk to a coach, but I'm really glad I did it, and I've been doing it ever since. So now, if you have a question, type it out in the chat box, and Madeline will pick them out and read them. If you have a comment about this, please, the feedback is really important to us too. I know we're getting on to the hour, but I will stay here and make sure that your questions are answered. And Madeline probably has to something else, so I'm going to put up the chat box to take a look at it. And if you want to leave now, thank you, but I really would either a question or feedback. If you're there, let me know, and tell me if there's anything.
Sandy, it looks like we have a question about replay coverage. We have been recording this session. So Sandy, are you going to make that available somewhere?
I am going to make that available. I don't quite know how yet, but I'm definitely going to make that available. What else? People have thanked us for good information. Madeline, if you have to run, go right ahead. Good tips. People took notes. That's great. And some good, if I can help people, one person is saying she's going to sign up. Yeah, do. I mean, everybody do sign up. It's just, I can help you, or you can do it yourself. If you want to do it yourself, great. But why not get the help if it's being offered? And okay, somebody said right on. And that's the best we can do. I'll stay another minute and see. People want the recording. I'm going to see what I can do to make sure that I get you that recording. And with that, I just want to say Thank you. Whoops, I think we went too far. Thank you. If you do have other questions, easily reach out and contact me. Sandy will help at gmail.com works, or better still, make that appointment with me and let's talk. It'll be an hour. It'll be a good investment for you of time. And it really doesn't matter to me. I'm looking for people who absolutely want to work with me. If you're not even thinking of getting a coach, that's okay too. Thank you all. I hope you got a lot out of this, and we're going to pull the plug on it now.